right, welcome back to the Frontend Coffee Break, the podcast where we take a break, grab a cup of coffee, maybe iced coffee now that it's so hot out there. It's so hot in Barcelona. My cat is talking to me. And yeah, so we talk about front-end stuff, and it is episode 18, sorry. My name is Ricard Torres, and with me, as usual, Chucho Castañeda. How are you, sir?
Hello, and with quite hot in the sense that there's, it's very hot in Barcelona.
Terrible.
Yeah. So it's like the fan is my best friend.
Until September, October, definitely. Right, so today we have a very special guest, but I will let her introduce herself.
Well, hi everyone, all the way from Munich, which is as hot, I would say, these days, and as well as non-AC inside as well.
Wow.
So yeah, my name is Ines Akrap. I'm a senior web performance engineer at Cognizant Netcentric, and very glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, really. Thank you for coming. You are our first guest, and I'm really excited. I think we couldn't have started with a better guest than you. So I'm very happy also that you're here. Thank you.
That's excellent. Yes, and since we're here, obviously, we're going to talk about web performance and what we do here at Cognizant Netcentric. We have some questions for you to get some information on performance. Also, if you can give us tips, tricks, anything that can help the listeners improve their performance on their own projects, that would be amazing. All right, let's get started. Let's get into it. No more waiting. First question I have for you, Ines. I'm sorry, it's point blank to you. In 30 seconds or less, when you hear the words core web vitals, what is that?
30 seconds or less.
Now.
Okay, let's try this. So core web vitals are, they're just a set of metrics that were introduced by Google in 2020 to measure user experience. Bam.
That was fantastic. No, honestly, because I think usually you read this online everywhere you read a blog post, you see core vitals, and probably maybe junior developers don't know exactly what these are. These fantastic metrics to measure performance. Excellent.
Metrics to measure user experience. They were actually, they were until 2020. Google decided that they want to introduce a bit of this set of metrics to try to measure user experience. Because we all know how hard is to measure user experience. It's quite personal. Every one of us has, again, a different experience. Everyone gets annoyed by different things. So I would say here they kind of tried to figure out what are these metrics that would measure this the best. And to be honest, I think they got it quite okay.
Well, it's interesting that precisely because Google did it, and if I'm not mistaken, they're using the web vitals to actually as part of their ranking system, right? So it's making people be more aware and more care for performance, knowing that their website is going to be ranked better if they have a better user experience, right?
Exactly. So I guess this is one huge thing that happened is that especially, the sector of web development towards business, product ownership, and that SEO as well became aware of this very, very important topic, I would say. And things start moving along. So I think that's a very great thing that happened with introductions. And of course, the significance of core web vitals when it comes to search ranking, it's not that high. So of course, in the end of the day, it's your content that still is the most important. However, it can give you, I think some research show that it can give you a boost up to 4%, which is
okay.
It can be quite significant, because click-through rates for the first spot or second or third is quite different. So if you manage to jump from third until first, I think it makes quite a difference.
Yeah, but I love what you said that now we shifted from just load it super fast, whatever it is, do your hacks, to actually improve the user experience, make it better for the users. And I think that's a big, approach difference, right, from before. So that's fantastic. So if I want to check these metrics for my website, how would I do that?
Well, glad you asked, no? In order to improve anything, when we want to improve something, we have to measure it first, So I guess the best case scenario would be just, they're great. We can all go home, ciao. Iced coffee and go to the beach.
Oh, yes.
But usually the metrics are not that. They usually don't show the score, that high score, if we did not do anything towards that. So that had to be like quite some luck that you maybe had on board someone who cared a lot about it to put some effort. So to measure core web vitals, we have basically two main approaches. That generally came as well from web performance before even like introduction of core web vitals, which are synthetic and RUM, or real user monitoring. So when it comes to these two different, so they are not exclusive. They are kind of work together. So how we work in our web performance team, we use real user monitoring to find where the problems are, and then use synthetic tools to find what the problems are. And then, of course, this would help us solve the issue. So when it comes to real user monitoring, I guess the most famous one, it's the Google Prox report. We have the PageSpeed Insights. So this is the real user data that's being collected on the Chrome users that did not opt out from it. So when you accept all of those, when you sell your soul to the devil, accepting the terms and license without reading them for 1,000 times. No, I'm really interested what I accepted in my life. But basically, you also kind of agree for them to collect your data about performance, and then, of course, aggregate it and serve it in the dashboard, such as Prox or PageSpeed Insights. So, for example, PageSpeed Insights are quite cool because they give you both real user data as well as the Lighthouse report, which is synthetic tools. And then, of course, we have different RUM tools, which are, let's say, way more correct. Knows that you're not only measuring the Chrome users that did not opt out, but you're measuring more or less everyone. So there is actually one that we make here in Cognizant Netcentric in-house. It's called Cognizant Web Vitals Monitoring. We kind of decided to do that because we worked with a lot of different RUM tools, and they're great. So it's definitely like having RUM tools. It's amazing. However, they cost. So there's licensing issues, of course. And there is, again, like you don't get to control the features. So you just maybe you buy too much or you buy too few. And then in the end of the day, having something of our own made sense from the perspective of being able to implement whatever we want to help us, like, in the end of the day, work and provide the best service for our customers. And also to not charge for it. So basically, once you get the service from us, you get the consultant and the tool, and you don't have to buy an extra license, because once you kind of manage to sell yourself, then actually trying to get client to buy an extra license on top of that is also quite a drag. So that was also one of the reasons. But then again, there is quite some very good tools when it comes to RUM, and that definitely should be the first step. And then again, like once you find out where the issue is, then you can drill deeper. My favorite tool for that is Web Page Test, or like, of course, DevTools, of course, performance tab in DevTools as well. There you can drill quite deep and find out what's actually happening.
You mentioned quite a bit of tools, especially
tooling.
So many things.
Yes.
Do you use any of those?
Yes, actually. For example, the one that you mentioned, Lighthouse, is of course the first step that any developer should use. At least in my opinion, if you're a front-end developer, the first thing that you should try to use or learn how to use is Lighthouse. It's like the beginner's the entry point, and it gives you quite interesting information. But as you say, the downside about using Lighthouse is that you're doing it on your dev environment. Well, if you're doing it locally, it's dev, it's not the real thing. Or maybe you can test it in your dev environment and still it's not the real thing, because it's just, maybe an environment that it's optimized, or maybe it's not used for by a lot of people. I don't know. But the thing is that it's not a real environment. And I was really surprised when I found the other Google tool that you mentioned, the PageSpeed Insights, that is based on, I was surprised, based on the information that Google is collecting about this. So when you see the score of a page, you're actually seeing the score that the page has gotten being used by a lot of other people. And that it's very, very interesting. I was surprised. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, how much was it? Like a month before you get, for example, if you do a change, you have to wait a month until you see the real the impact that change has in the PageSpeed Insights, right?
Exactly. I think it's 28 days for PageSpeed Insight, and I think Crux does it by month. So every second Tuesday of the month, they release the data for the previous month. So it's very hard, for example, when you're trying to optimize something, if you don't have, especially after you do a release, then you have to wait for quite some time to see if it actually made some impact. And this time could be used, to do more stories like that, and of course aggregate the good stuff, or just in the end of the day, not waste time if something's not actually performing the way that you think, or let's just say having an impact as much as you would like it.
In your experience, has the RUM data changed the approach on optimizing? Because maybe you look at the RUM data and all your users are using MacBooks or latest iPhones, and then everything looks fast and everything is fast, but really you could improve stuff. But since your real users don't have that need, maybe the client says, no need to actually spend money on low-end devices or something. Have you seen that?
I guess there's a bit of two approaches to actually answer this question. So first is yes, definitely. So RUM tools give you the real situation. So what we do is a lot of times we notice, of course, I think you actually mentioned something similar in your web performance episode as well, where is that you see the RUM data and they're way better than your lab data, because in the end of the day, RUM data aggregates all the data across the site. And in lab data, you usually test one site. So maybe you do the worst one or homepage usually. So you don't know how the rest behaves unless you actually go side by side, which ain't no one got time for that. And then, of course, other than that, it's just... Oh, sorry, I lost the train.
No worries, just real data, and if you change the approach, knowing that if your users only use high-end devices, no need to go for
exactly.
slow connections or...
Exactly, and from the other perspective, there's definitely difference. And of course, what I wanted to say is that you also throttle the network. So you actually you made in one point you make it the worst possible. So you put so slow 2G, and then you also put maybe 4 times throttling of your laptop. So you really get a bad experience. So you're trying to kind of optimize on the worst possible scenario, which is great. It's a great way to start optimizing. However, again, you can end up over optimizing, just using too much time to do something that's in the end of the day not that relevant. So of course you have this option. And then of course, from the second point of view, there is this question that comes up. If you do this, if you optimize only for the users you see on your RUM tool, are you maybe excluding someone else?
Right.
Because optimizing only for power user, even though most of your users are power users, are you kind of maybe excluding someone who would like to come in, but because they couldn't have a good experience, they went out, and then of course you're kind of again blocking them from actually accessing the site.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit like accessibility, that maybe most of the vast majority of your users won't benefit maybe directly from accessibility, but should you, just because of this, should you exclude working on making the experience for those who actually need it? Exactly. I think it's worth it. We should try to do an inclusive web. And oddly, or I don't know if I would say oddly enough, but curiously enough, this is one part that I think accessibility and performance meet up in the middle, saying we do this so that everyone can have a good experience of using the website, not only for most people, but for those that might have limitations, whether it's physical limitations or technological limitations, they still get a great experience.
Now, I'll be the devil's advocate here, and I think in the end it comes with budget. It's budget, right? And it's business, and business will say, I'm not going to spend another 10,000 to fix something that only impacts 0.5% of my user base or something. I don't know. I think it's a business decision.
All right, unfortunately, it is. Yeah, unfortunately, it is.
So maybe some listeners know, I already know about Core Vitals. What are you talking about? But I know there has been a big change in the recent Google I/O conference that happened. Was it May? I think it was. What was the change in the Core Vitals?
Okay, so if it's the change I think you're referring to.
Let's see.
So let's just go one step back and Core Web Vitals for anyone who doesn't know consists out of the 3 main metrics. They're metric for loading, which is LCP, largest content page. We have interactivity metric, which is first input delay, and we have visual stability metric, which is cumulative layout shift. So these metrics are the ones that have been originally introduced in 2020. And with what I was saying, that Google just tried to measure user experience. They also said that they're going to iterate over them and to see what works, what does not work. So talking with a lot of developers, a lot of business, a lot of, generally across, people working across web development using these metrics, they came to a conclusion that actually there is a better way to measure interactivity. So from March 2024 or next year, they will replace first input delay with interaction to next paint. So yeah, interaction to next paint. Basically, what it will do is, comparing to first input delay, it will measure the full session. So this is kind of the main difference. So first input delay was measuring first input, just the first interaction user had with the site, how bad that was. And IMP is going to measure all the interactions across the session and then report the worst one. So that the idea was behind the fact that most of the interaction with the page are done after the loading time.
True. Of these, who has? Okay, let's do a little bit of a discussion. Of the three current web vitals, and well, maybe the one that's going to come. Which one do you think is the most important or impactful for you as a developer or as a person?
Okay, for me, well, I don't know. Like, I love all of them because first and foremost, I'm a rage clicker. I'm a huge rage clicker. So like, I don't wait. Like, it's, again, as a millennial, as someone who had like, my first computer when I was 4, it's just, I'm used to having these things fast, especially like getting content, getting like, as well, like this is my everyday work. So I do like seeing things fast. However, I am a power user in my tech bubble as well. So usually that's not a huge issue. So I guess for me, the biggest impact was CLS, was the visual stability. So I think this one was one of those as well that you did not know you needed until it hits you, So it was like, actually not having things move around while I'm in the middle of reading is actually very nice.
It is. Ricard, would you agree, or do you have any other
I was going
favorite?
To say, that's the one I will murder for. Like, when I'm loading the page and I want to click on a CTA call to action button or whatever it is, and suddenly the thing moves down and I click on something else, opens a new page, and I'm like, oh my goodness. It's painful.
The worst experience is when you're reading, and you're maybe in the subway or you don't have that much of a fast connection, and you start just reading. And you read the first phrase, and then poop, it moves a little bit. Okay, you scroll again. You start reading, and poop, it moves again, and then you have to scroll again. I hate it because it's like it takes a long time before you can actually start engaging with a page. I don't care if you're loading the image. I don't care if you're loading whatever you're loading. If the text, please don't move the text while I read it.
Save the space. No, in the end.
Yeah. Completely agree. Completely. It's just especially because I'm in a flow. Like I'm reading, I'm doing something, and then you start like, messing with my flow. And like, if, for example, LCP, it just kind of delays you even starting. So that's for me, again, like not that bad because you're kind of used to this as well already at this point in time. So if I'm in the metro, I'm going to know my article is going to come like, around at least, one stop or more. So that's okay. But then again, once I start reading, I was like, please don't mess with this.
Totally.
No, as you said, it breaks the concentration, and that's horrible.
Yeah.
All right. Do you also work every day with developers, from developers that are implementing stuff? What advice would you give? What's the most common mistake that developers do when not taking much into consideration web performance? What's the most impactful? Or you think, hey, you guys always messing with this, please fix it in your future projects? Is there something you can pinpoint?
Wait. Before you answer this, you said the people, developers. So you're implying that developers are not people.
We are not people, man. We are just, it's aliens or
the magicians.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna not be very political here because I used to be a front-end developer for a while, and I would say the biggest issue here is that definitely knowing more than a lot of developers know about the topic and actually taking it as a default. I would say same goes for accessibility. No, built in, not bolt on. This is something that should definitely be advocated for. However, I definitely need to emphasize that too much responsibility when it comes to web performance is being shifted to front-end developers, and that's not fair. That's not a fair game here because it's for everyone. Everyone included in the web development process should know about this, should care about this, And in the end of the day, front-end developers are the one implementing what they were told to implement, in a way. So depending on the team dynamics, depending on your seniority, in the end of the day, there is so much that you can do. So let's say if you're quite senior, if you have in-house UX team and all that, if you can negotiate these things, then I guess your responsibility would be to go and negotiate, to get that carousel off the hero position.
Definitely.
But other than that, of course, if it got on top of you, of course, you can definitely do some stuff, learn about it, apply some best practices when it comes. However, a lot of things do not come from pure implementation. They come from the whole process. And this is something that we definitely have to advocate from, even as a front-end developers, to would you please unload this from us? And again, this is why we exist as web performance engineers. The topic is so huge. The topic is ever-changing. It just has a lot of, I personally, I'm learning every single day more and more things about it. So I think just having someone who already has so much load, front-end is so dynamic. So again, so changing, and every framework coming, every 3 minutes. So all these things, it's just putting this again on top as a huge responsibility. I'm going to repeat myself. I don't think it's fair. So
I love it. Yeah. I mean, definitely. Yes. I use you. You optimize everything and all, but then you're working with content management systems, and then the author goes in and drops 200 components on you in all hero banners. So it's impossible for you to optimize anything there. So.
You don't have effect. You don't know, you cannot affect this part. So that's, again, especially in our case, we're working with CMS, and you just don't know what's going to be there. And to me, it happened. Of course, I was a front end on the project. We went from scratch. I was very, very, very careful about performance. And then the content came in. So yeah,
I love this. Then the content came in.
It's always like this, and of course, then you have to go into the fights, and unless until you figure out that the money is the word you need to be throwing around, and not the passion and user.
But the user needs to get the best experience.
Exactly.
I don't care. It's the money.
But you're losing money. Oh, now you have our attention.
And this is something fantastic that you mentioned, that it's a responsibility of the entire team, not only a front-end developer. Yes, a lot of the times the front-end developer is going to be working on a lot of these issues, but there's so much more happening in the backend, happening in the infrastructure. And I love, because it was something that I lived. Who hasn't had a fight on the page? It doesn't perform very well. And you say, well, I wonder if it's the carousel that I have to load with 5 huge images. I don't know. Maybe it's that. I don't know.
It's hard. Also, analytics libraries and A/B testing and personalization.
Don't get me started on that party.
No, personalization. I've lived the nightmare as well. And of course, we always try to find the best way to help the client get a good personalization and as well a good performance. But sometimes it's hard, especially if the client says, no, change the page entirely, reload the page. It's no. I mean, it's nice, but it's better than maybe reload certain parts, but don't try to go for the entire page. And this is something that you as a developer might have a say on, but ideally the project manager or other people that talk to the client, the requirements engineer, will be the one that says, hey, stop it, please.
Look for another solution, move logic to the server side, not client side, move away from just JavaScript. But I think there's a lot of education as well, because maybe they just want the user story, but they don't know what it entails, how much, all those things. Alrighty, moving on, what else is here? We were going to ask you also, what has the most impact on web performance? What can we do, or is there something that we can...
the easy wins? If you would
also, sure.
Or do you mean something else?
No.
Because
it's an open-ended
There's
question.
no easy wins.
It's also possible.
You have to work hard.
True.
Steal some bread. Yeah. Well, again, that's something that I believe, again, Core Web Vitals did a huge favor to all of us, while opening, this, again, discussion about this. So for me, the easy wins, again, would be removing kilobytes. So wherever you can kind of remove kilobytes, that would be something good. No, this is something that goes, the fastest kilobytes are the ones that were never delivered.
Okay.
So...
But this, for example, I guess that one of these things, and just the first thing that comes into mind is images. Images is something that we've learned not to deliver when it's not needed, because
Exactly.
they're under the fold, and even browsers have implemented ways to do this. But there's also, what do we do, for example, if we have a browser that has a slow connection? Is there any way, because the images are not going to be loaded, but is there any way that we could find out the connection speed that we have and do something about it? Or
so I would say in generally, it's not an easy win. No, that this is definitely not an easy win. But taking client again, client, not client, user. No, user is something that we should definitely concentrate on, having, user first, user centric. And this is something that I believe would as well benefit a lot performance in the future, is designing progressively, with the progressive enhancement, which was introduced quite some time ago. However, it never kind of stuck too much. And this is a shame, because at the end of the day, progressive enhancement lies on top of the respecting user preferences. So actually a few years back, I think around 2 years back, we also we created a small library that does that. No, it's called ProgUX. It's open source. You can find it on the Centric GitHub repo. Nice. And it basically just helps you. It has two different parts. It has a part for production, which is literally 1 kilobyte, super small. It kind of goes inline, and it adds few of the parameters to CSS, to the I think actually to the body. And it adds a few things to the local storage as well. So what's the user connection speed, if the users have save data mode on, what's there as well preference, which is very important from accessibility point, motion, reduce motion, because animations can trigger some of the actual medical conditions in people, and we don't take this into consideration. And that's, again, it's not nice, not taking these preferences. So basically designing in a way that delivers basics and then enhancing it towards the power user that can load all the videos and carousels and all that, because they have unlimited plan and unlimited energy and unlimited processing power. Well, not unlimited, but let's say that we do,
a high end
M1, we have an M1, so we're good. So all that is something but then it's not okay towards the users that are using an average phone, which is the newest iPhone is not the average phone. And I think sometimes people kind of forget that it's like an average phone. Just go to Amazon and see what's the bestseller. And this was what will give you a bit of a feeling what the actual average phone, and maybe even try using one, try testing on top of this phone and seeing what's the actual user experience on that.
I've had to, for some tests, have to use a real phone to do some tests that it's not the newest phone. And sometimes you see, okay, this is bad. I hate it.
Yeah.
And you know that you need to fix it. And it's nice, as you said, using the ProgUX, if I'm not mistaken, you can determine what things or how you can deliver things to try to deliver the best experience in the progressive enhancement way, which we have the episode. So if anyone's interested in that topic and hasn't listened to it, do it.
So basically, there's this small development part which helps you develop for it. So there is a small model that you can include in the development. This was why that's actually why it exists, because otherwise you can just do it yourself. So it just has this small model that the point is to switch between the states straight away. So it just kind of forces the state, and this kind of helps you develop straight away, so you don't have to. It kind of mocks the state for you.
Well, we can share the link definitely for this, for anyone that's also interested to seeing how we work on this. The final question.
Final question? What? Is it a final question? Yeah. Okay. Final question. 2 minutes. Let's go. What to look forward in terms of what performance is this coming year? And we know we talked about the Google I/O, but is there anything else you would like to share? Pay attention to, be on the lookout for? I don't know.
IMP. Yeah. Well, I guess this is something definitely. So, for example, client I'm working with, we already started optimizing for IMP, and IMP is all about JavaScript. About reducing amount of JavaScript, modularizing it, not having one big bundle, having smaller tasks. So long tasks is anything that's over 50 milliseconds. So having small tasks that actually, let's say, kind of giving a break to the main threads in a way. So this is something that I think it should change a bit of the mindset when it comes towards using JavaScript for everything. And again, as a front-ender, I love my JavaScript. Now as a web performance, it's a thorn in my tie. But again, it's just we're talking here about unused stuff. So if you need it, if you want to use it, absolutely go ahead with it. But there's so much unused JavaScript out there that it's just, I hope that IMP will help us clean this up.
That's fantastic. So we still have time until 2024. But yeah, definitely it's a good approach to start thinking about. Just remove JavaScript. I mean, I love Wix when there's just CSS. My side projects are only CSS because why JavaScript? I hate it. But yeah, that's different episode. Ines, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
And the rest, if you have more questions about web performance, leave them below. We'll maybe do more episodes of web performance. Just ask for it and you will have it. Thank you so much and see you in the next Frontend Coffee Break.
See you. Have a great day.
Ciao.